Good evening all. I think as a few of you are watching this, let's give it a second. I haven't streamed in a few weeks and I need to just double check all of my settings are correct. I'm just going to see what is working and what isn't, so bear with me. Oh, been a little while. If you are there, by the way, and you are watching this, please do put some comments in the chat. Let everyone know you're here. Let me know the stream's working, okay? And from there we'll see where we go. Right. Hello, Mr. Cy Owen. Good to see you're on, mate. I'll be right with you. I'm just going to double check that the stream is working in the other places first, and then we will roll on with this. Looks like we've got something. I hate the new desktop Facebook. I don't know anyone else thinks about it. Tried to make it look like the mobile version. It's annoying because there were some things you needed to do on the desktop version that didn't never quite work right on the mobile version, and now they've taken that all away and made it all mobile focused, which is a pain in the arse if you need to find anything. I'm still learning my way around it, unfortunately. Yes, it is, Si. That's exactly what I'm going to be dealing with here. Just give me 2 minutes to finish setting this up, and then I will join you. Right. Hello, Mr. Spowett. How you doing? Right. Looks like there's a few people logging on, so I can assume it's all working okay. But just in case anyone's missed it, I've been away for a couple of weeks. I'm sorry, guys. I've not been anywhere. I was doing my Retro Gaming Room 101, but I had some unexpected dropouts of my guests, and I am looking for more people to appear on that. So if you fancy coming on and talking about something you want to put into Room 101, then please drop me a message and let me know. The titling here says about the Jaguar and the GD. Ah, right, okay. Don't worry about too much about that, Rich. I can change that after the fact. That's not a big problem. Yeah, I'll sort that out. Don't worry about that. It's because I haven't set everything up properly the way I am supposed to, the way I should have supposed to have. Yeah, everything's okay here. Thanks, mate. Yeah, so I'm just trying to get back into it, guys. I'm just trying to get into it, but I've had a lot of things going on. We've got a C2, we've got some car repairs need doing. The missus has gone back to work this week officially after being at home for 3 months, and you know, I've just been trying to manage all my projects and get a load of things organised and that. And just today, as it happens, I've had a load of brand new packing boxes arrive, which are going to allow me to finally sort out my retro collection and get it all boxed up nice and neatly at home and in my storage, where obviously I need to keep it all in order because we're going to need it for events coming up. It's got a bit grim outside. We've lost a bit of summer, unfortunately, but yeah, I'm still fighting fit and carrying on. Right, so today, guys, we're going to be talking about the Acorn Electron. This is something that I'm not actually that familiar with, and the reason I wanted to talk about it and do a video on it is because I haven't actually been able to have much experience with this system over the years. So the system itself, guys, and forgive me, I'm going to be doing a lot of messing about with camera and things. The system looks a little bit like this. Excuse the wire in the way. This is the Acorn Electron. It was released finally, I think, in 1983, if I'm not mistaken. Much later than it was planned to be released. It was created to be a budget successor to the BBC Micro, designed to be a lot cheaper and actually compete with the Spectrum, which obviously at the time was doing fantastic. And unfortunately, it never quite managed to do that because well, for a myriad of reasons. But the period between 1982 and 1984 was a strange one in the home computer market, especially in the UK. And this was one of the things that turned up during that period. It ended up being about 18 months late. As I say, it was designed to be a stripped down version of the BBC Micro to compete with the Spectrum, but it was designed to be backwards compatible or directly compatible with BBC Micro software. Unfortunately, because of the way it was designed, that didn't happen. the way they allocated the memory caused a lot of problems, which means that a lot of BBC Micro software wouldn't work. They did away with a lot of the ports. This system only having a few ports, very few compared to the BBC Micro, in fact, relying instead on expansions. And I'm just going to go around the back in just a sec. But as far as ports go, you've got your power connection on the right hand side there, which I think is a 14 or a 19 volt power supply. It's a big chunky thing. You can see it in the wall there, an absolute beast of a power supply. But this is the original power supply, and it seems to be working fine. And then around the left hand side here, we have an RF socket. We have an RCA composite RF connection there. We have an RGB monitor socket, and we also have another one which I'm not quite sure what that is, but yeah, that's all you've got. There's no dedicated joystick ports, no dedicated connection ports, and that's pretty much all you've got to work with. Strange anomaly about the way this is set up. It's even though it's got a built-in RCA, which was kind of unusual for home micros in the UK at the time. The RCA only outputs in black and white, which is a bit of a pain in the arse. You can do a simple mod, I've been told, which allows you to basically output colour through that. But I don't want to do any internal modifications. Thankfully, being in the UK, we have the SCART standard, and obviously that means I've been able to pick up an RGB SCART cable, which connects into what would have been the RGB monitor port there, and goes straight to SCART. So I've got a lovely crystal clear picture. I've got it plugged in today into my PS2 TV. That'll be a video for another day, by the way, but I'll go into that another time. So around the back here, there's one other port, and it is just inside there. It's kind of difficult to see, but there's like an all-purpose kind of expansion port in the back there. And the point is that you were supposed to buy connections for this, like expandable peripherals and things like that, such as memory expansion, things to allow you to connect to printers and things like that. And you were designed to plug them into that socket and basically have it all kind of daisy-chained into the back, which was a bit of a pain, but at least you could actually bolt the systems together and make them more rigid. However, doing so made this thing as big or bigger than the BBC Micro, so kind of pointless. It does have a really great keyboard, thankfully. It's not on par with the Commodore 64 or anything of the time, but the key style is very familiar and it's quite nice to use. Slightly spongier than you would like for regular typing on, but functional enough for doing some programming or typing or word processing or whatever it is that you need to do on this system. And I quite like the form factor as well. Much like a Commodore 64, but a little bit more compact, so it's not as much bulk going on at the sides as you would have had on a Commodore 64. Not as deep either. The side profile of this thing is quite low, so yeah, I actually like the profile of this compared to some of the other ones. I mean, the Spectrum, great system, nice and small, but horrible keyboards on both the original and the Plus models. And obviously, once you started going to the later models from Amstrad, you had the data set and everything on the side, which just made it a bit of a beast, to be quite honest. But yeah, I do like the look of this, and even though the beige is kind of slightly unappealing today, it works and it does at least look clean. This could actually do with being a little bit grayer than this. The one I actually got here has been, well, it was a little bit dirty. I've cleaned it up. It was quite badly yellowed. I have done a little bit of retro brighting before the summer disappeared on us rather rapidly. And it actually brought it up a few shades, which is quite good. It used to be a lot yellower than this, but at least it's even, and at least it doesn't look like it's covered in really bad nicotine stains like some of them do. Now, obviously, this system was designed to use tapes or disk drive to be able to load in your software, which isn't the way we want to do things in the modern age. And I like messing around with the old computers, I like messing around with these systems, but I also need to be able to make them practical, and so I purchased this. This is the ElkSD64. You can buy these on eBay. The creator lists his products directly on eBay, and you can buy these for about 40 quid, I think, on eBay at the moment with free shipping. It's just a little connector there that directly plugs into the expansion port on the back, and you can see it's got an full-size SD card slot on the top. It gives it 64K of RAM, and it allows you to do a few extra little debugging things, but nothing I'm going to mess with. The most important thing is it allows direct image loading of games, which is why I bought it. So I'm going to put that back down now so I can feel a little less awkward. Duncan Woodward loves tape. Yes, he certainly does, Dave. Hello, Adam. Thanks for joining us, mate. And is it a rare PSU, Dave? I didn't know that. I didn't know how hard it was to come by. What I do know is that I got what I consider to be a bargain for this system. Excuse me, I've got a bit of hay fever today. I've been coughing and sneezing a fair bit, so I might sound like I'm a bit chesty. That's all it is, a little bit of hay fever in the air. Straighten the sim as you touch. Right, I think that's straight enough for you. Yeah, the power supply, it's a bit of a brick by modern standards. I mean, even by their standards then, it's quite bulky. But, you know, it's original at least, and it saves me having to buy one for this. I can imagine being a 14 volt power supply, you'd be looking at kind of a laptop style power supply hack these days. If you wanted to create like a third party one, because that's quite significant. Yeah, I think this system originally came in at, was it £200? I think it came in at. They wanted it to come out for £150, and it ended up coming out at £200 because of manufacturing costs. Even though the Spectrum Plus came out around the same time, and they were forced to slash the price, unfortunately, in order to kind of keep up with them, and that might have been partially what buried this. That and being too late to the market, really. You know, the whole micro boom was slowing down a lot in 1983 and 1984, and this thing unfortunately didn't sell as many as it could have done. It was praised well when it was reviewed, but unfortunately it just didn't, you know, get the market share that they wanted, and it didn't have the game availability. Not having a joystick port would have been a big disadvantage to this. As far as a gaming system goes, you know, with the Spectrum didn't have one either at first, but at least you had interfaces which allowed you to do that, which were quite inexpensive, and so everyone chose to do that. The problem with this is you needed to buy one of the bigger expansions in order to have a joystick port. And by the time it come out, it was pointless. And from what I've been told, in fact, Woody, who's watching this now, virtually no games actually use the joystick because, well, weren't programmed to use the joystick, so it was kind of pointless. By the time it came out, it was just too late, you know. So that makes it a little tricky for me. As people know, I don't have two good hands. I only have a decent right hand. My left hand hardly works. And I've never been a fan of playing on keyboards anyway. But I will try and muddle through a couple of games here and show you what's what. Hi Barry Morse. Hi a couple of other guys who've joined. I can't see everyone's chat, but I will try and catch up with you all as I go along with this. So, the system itself doesn't have a physical power switch, so it is done purely through hard connection or not. I might try and get an inline power switch like I did for my Spectrum for this, if one exists out there, because at least that way I've got an ability to turn it on and off without hard plugging in and out. I've never liked that method, and I know they were trying to save costs and that back then, but a physical plastic power switch must be pence, and it's going to save a lot of things getting blown, a lot of power, you know, ports getting wrecked. I've seen so many Spectrums with damaged power ports. My own ended up like that, and I ended up having to repair it myself, so I know what it's like. So what we're going to do is I'm just going to disconnect this for a second and show you what we're presented with when you start up the system. Hopefully it will be fine. There we go. So, and I'll switch it back to 4:3 aspect. Sorry guys, I haven't set my TV up properly to always stay in 4:3 aspect, but there we go. Right, so yeah, as you probably heard there, you probably heard the beep come from the system. This doesn't have audio out through the port, it actually comes out through the internal speaker. It's actually got less audio channels than the beep has, which made for some games sounding rather naff on this compared to on the beep. But yeah, the internal speaker thing, I can live with that. We had it with the original Spectrums. and it was never a big issue. You know, it's not great when you haven't got full volume control at your fingertips, but at least you know it's outputting audio that you should just about be able to hear. Nothing too special to listen to anyway, so I wouldn't worry about it. Um, Adam Haig says, back in the day I had the ZX81 and an MSX HX10, which I still have. Nice one, nice one. Couple of systems out. My ZX81's actually being repaired at the moment, and I haven't got an MSX, but a couple of people on this chat thread certainly have. So they might want to fill you in on some of the best software for that. Yeah, so when you load up the system anyway, this is what you're presented with. It's BBC Basic, which is the same as most other basics available at the time. You will notice a slight difference though if you are someone who's familiar with this system. I think I think internally it came with 32k of RAM by default, but some games would use 64k through the expansion modules. Thankfully, the ElkSD64 does add the extra 32k, and we've got the 32k there added to it. You can see on the screen it says we've got 64k at the top. We've got an extra line there which says Electron MMFS SWRAM EPP. That is the actual ElkSD64 device. So it's recognising that. So you can use this like normal when it's plugged in. You can just type stuff in, you know. So look what we got. Let's go one of my favourites, which is the thing that everybody does when they first start messing around with BASIC, and that is to print some kind of random shit and run it. And if we go run, there we go. We've got a screen full of bollocks, which is probably everyone's favourite line of code. Everybody knows how to do it. Everybody did it, and yeah. So that is BBC. That is BBC Basic. Nothing too special there. Yeah, wonderful clicky keys, Dave. You can hear it there on the camera, I can imagine. They feel very nice to use. I mean, I'm not a massive fan of using keyboards in general. It was something I was glad to see the back of, especially for the sake of gaming. But this does at least feel responsive. I could probably do again, giving a few of the contacts a little bit of a clean, but it does feel pretty good. And none of these keys are like, how can I put it, spongy, if you know what I mean. Some older keyboards that use membranes and things like that, they get spongy after a time. This has none of that, thankfully. There are a few bits of crap trapped in between the keys. That is actually where I was cleaning it with a sponge the other day, and I didn't realise the sponge was actually deteriorating. I need to blast those out with some compressed air, but yeah, it's nice and clicky. They all spring back up to full height. And what's nice about this is the keys don't wear off, don't seem to wear off easily either. So all of the functions on the fronts, all of the black writing on the top is all as crystal clear as it was probably when it came out the factory. So yeah, if it's the kind of thing you want to do some basic programming and stuff on, it's a nice keyboard to do that on. Me, I won't be doing that because I don't know anything about coding. I'll be totally honest. And yeah, I mean, I will be getting into the system a bit more. It's just not something I've had much chance to do yet. The reason I picked this up is because it came at the right time at a bargain price, and I managed to pick this up for 30 quid off one of my own team, as it happens, a guy called Gareth, off the Revival team. Every Revival event, the team are always swapping and changing and selling things to each other, and we're always picking up bargains and stuff while we're there anyway. But yeah, sorry. Yeah, I will be getting a bit more to grips with it and doing something with that in due course. Right. So yeah. But for now, I'm just going to be messing around with a couple of the games just to show you what the system was all about. So to get into the game menu, and I hope I've got this right, so I might need to reset it. I'm not sure. There we go. We basically hold shift and press break on the keyboard, and it kind of shortcuts it into loading this game selection menu. Obviously, people out there who've used their EverDrives and things like that, people who've got the modern flash devices like I've been showing before, you're going to be pretty familiar with this. Browsing it is not as quick, unfortunately, as it is with browsing EverDrive. You can just quickly flick up and down lists and flip pages quick. Takes a few seconds to load the pages. You will notice that this is actually booting in 4-color mode. There's actually a 2-color mode you can actually load this menu up in, and it does navigate a lot faster, but you have to type in a full command to do that. And when I'm going to be messing about with it like I am just to play games, I am not going to be messing about with trying to remember what command it is each time I come to the system. I have actually wrote on the, I've printed some labels on my ElkSD64, which reminds me what I need to press to call up the menu, and anybody who's at the events will also be able to look at this and see how to return to the menu and things like that. But yeah, I just want to do it the simple way, and even though it means browsing the menu is kind of slow, at least it's easy enough to do. It's just 2 keys, so you have to hold shift and press break, and then you have to continue to hold shift for a second or two in order for it to work. So, but yeah, that's about as straight as I can get it, guys. Sorry, there's a little bit I'm cutting off on the top. There's a little bit of overscan on this TV as well, which I haven't corrected yet. So it's not actually, it is actually slightly cut off at the top anyway. But I have lined up as best I can for the sake of this video. Yeah, so I noticed Woody's been giving some tips there to somebody. Spectrum Nares, how's it going, mate? You alright? Have I got Daredevil Dennis on here? Right, yeah, going into the games, guys. So when the games come up, you can just use the arrow keys up and down on the keyboard to jump between lists, and you can just browse it alphabetically. So obviously it goes from the numbers and then it goes through A to Z. You can also hold shift and a number to use the function keys, as you can see written at the top there. It says F7 A to Z jump. We're only going to be going to D, so I'll just jump forward a few pages rather than using that. But yeah, so it creates a page at a time with 26 entries on, and then what you do is you press the corresponding letter to launch the game that you want to launch from this. You can see there the first game I had up was Chucky Egg, because that's one that's familiar with a lot of people. Daredevil Dennis, right, we're coming to the D's now, mate, so if it is on here, how about that? About 2/3 of the way down there, we've got Daredevil Dennis on U, so let's hit that and give it a second to just load up. I've never seen this game, so you are kind of getting ahead of me on this. This software menu that we've got here, you don't actually get an SD card by default with the ElkSD64. You have to provide your own SD card, and it has to be less than 8 gigabytes. Anything bigger than 8 gigabyte card won't work. And I did test that with a few cards I got lying around, and yeah, anything above 8 gigabyte just didn't work. So about the smallest you can generally order these days is 8 gigabytes. So thankfully I had a couple of 8 gigabytes lying around, and I've downloaded that. I bought one of those, and then if you go to the ElkSD64 home page now, there's a very basic menu system which calls up about 30 games, and then they've got like an advanced one. This is the advanced one that I've downloaded now, and I think there's something like, I don't know, about 200, 300 games or something like that on this list. And from what I can tell, even though I'm not familiar with Electron's library, most of the games are games that I recognise as being available on other platforms. A lot of them come with kind of funky loader menus like this, though. Not being fully experienced with the Electron myself, I don't know if this is the way some things were packaged back in the day, but they seem to be more like homebrew software loaders than they do, default loaders for the games. You can see there it's got a choice of games, but I've selected Daredevil Dennis, and I think I can only select that because I've gone into it this way to call it up. So, but here we go. So Daredevil Dennis, just hit number 1, load that in. Give it a few seconds to boot up. Thankfully, we're not pissing around with tape loading times. We're not pissing around with disk loading times, especially. But we do have these little trainers. Some of them, if I press return, it will give me an option. This has just got the basic game. Some of the games like Chucky Egg, when you load them up, they've got the cheat menus built in. So a couple of them have been poked, so you can play the game with infinite lives or whatever, which is quite nice for, especially if you never mess with the system yourself, like me. If I want to get into the games, at least I'm not worried about just dying every 2 seconds. So we'll fire that up. Look at that. Looks like the earliest basic paint programs we always used to mess around with at school. And yeah, so Daredevil Dennis. So, someone want to tell me what this is about then? I notice Woody said something there. He's recommended Frack, Repton, and Chucky Egg. Yeah, those are three of the games I was going to cover. So, what's this game all about then? And what are the controls, more importantly? So, we'll start with Novice, obviously, because I don't know shit about it. Okay, so I guess I'm the dude on the motorbike at the top. Space seems to be jump. Don't know what the controls are. What's to accelerate then? Does anyone know the controls before I tap every random key on the keyboard? Basically, you jump obstacles. Yes, I'm sure I do. But what are the controls? Shift. Okay. Yes, I know. Well, I don't know this game in particular. Yes, I've got it. Shift to accelerate, space to jump. I've got it. This was actually based on a very early Atari arcade game, if I'm not mistaken. I've got to work out what decelerate is now. Might be left shift, I don't know. Now both shifts accelerate. So now you have to slow down at certain points. Yeah, I am familiar with the game. There was a motorbike stunt game, much like Kickstart, that used a kind of multi-layer, screen like this. I think backslash is actually brake. Return to slow down. Right, let's try that then. If we can get the controls going, I can at least demonstrate something. Yeah, return is brake. Nice one. Right, let's give this a try then. Oh, straight into the back of the ambulance. Right, take 3. Right, I'm going to get to grips with this. I'm sure there should be a time I should be accelerating, but I'm not sure what that is. Obviously, I don't want to hit the back of the ambulance, but I'm going to be doing that a few times, I think. Oh, it's going to catch me up. Oh, I pressed the wrong key. Yeah, I am familiar with the game. Yeah, as it happens, John McManus, who's writing one of the Spectrum Next games, or a few of the Spectrum Next games, he's doing a sort of pseudo cassette 50 collection he wants to do for the Spectrum Next, where he's written some very basic games just using the Z80, and he's actually written a game. It's actually based on, I think it's an Atari black and white arcade game, and that is what that is based on, as it happens. And it's very, very similar things that you're just a normal guy on a motorbike with a helmet on, and you just got basic obstacles you have to clear. Yeah, I can see what that's like. I'm guessing the higher levels then, you've got loads of obstacles and you've got to work out whether it's going to be very difficult to do. It's more a case of memorization than it is a skill. Oh my word. So I've got to accelerate to get under the coppers, I assume. Whoa, did it? And then I've got to accelerate to get past. Oh man, how the hell? I don't even know how the hell you'd manage to get past all of that. Yeah, as it happens, Woody, yeah, that is exactly how John described it. It would be cassette, rather than cassette 50, it'd be SD50. That's what he's working on. He's put quite a few games he wants to work on to go on that. I did demonstrate one on one of my last streams called Flappy Necks, which is like Flappy Bird, but a very basic version. I know someone's done a Flappy Bird for the Necks now. It's called Flappy Necks, and you control like a flying Necks. And this is one of the other games that's going to be on there, so it's going to be SD50. Something he wants to release. He's hoping that other people will contribute towards it, I think. So, right, so that's enough of that anyway. We get the gist. I'm never going to get any good at it just by playing it for 2 minutes now, so we'll just drop out of that now. So I think we hit control and brake. Oh, that's supposed to take us back to the... Sure, it's control and brake. Yeah, because shift and brake. Yeah, it doesn't work for all games. Yeah, control and brake is supposed to take you. Yeah, it's supposed to take you back to the to the title screen, but doesn't work on all games apparently. So I'll just quickly unplug it and plug it back in. And we'll go back into the menu. So again, shift and brake and into the menu. And I'll look at some of your suggestions, guys, because you know better than I do. I would say this is before my time. It's not before my time. My first video game exposure was one of the old grandstand kind of Pong consoles, and then we had a Spectrum Plus that we had that the year it came out. So that was kind of my first main computer in the house. But yeah, it's a little bit before. So I mean, some of the more basic games that didn't get multi-platform release, I might not be as familiar with. So let's have a look what we've got. Right, one good game I will point on straight away on the first page there is Arcadians, which is, I mean, right up my alley because I do like my arcade games and I do like my arcade ports, especially when they're done really well. And obviously around this time, arcade games are still pretty basic, most of them space shooters and things like that. So not particularly hard to port over to the home, although it wasn't always done very well, even though it was a little bit easier. This one, thankfully, has been done pretty well. I don't know if this was actually released back in the day or whether this was done as a homebrew later on, but it's a very good game. Just load it up. Control A. Okay, so Control A and return. Right, so this should be easy enough to play. So start a one-player game. I've actually got a little bit of music there. Basic, but it's there. And this might look a little bit stretched, guys, again, because I haven't reset the screen to 4:3 aspect, which I'll now do. It's better. I could do turn the brightness up a touch. It's a little bit dark for my screen, but yeah. And what you've got here, obviously, is a perfectly serviceable rendition of Galaxian, which is one of my favourite early arcade games. Much prefer Galaga personally, but Galaga might be pushing it a little bit. I don't know if there is a port on here, but this is perfectly good. It's nice and colourful. Everything moves the way it should. You've got some quite complex enemy movements, and I still suck at it. So I'll have one more game. It is an original game. Thank you very much for that. 0 times code. Nice one for checking that out. I can't actually refer to things while I'm doing this because I've got my one laptop running everything. I'm actually filming this with my iPhone, the screen, so I can't actually check for reference like I do with some of my videos, unfortunately. Oh yeah, I still suck. But yeah, I mean, I could play that for quite a long time. Being slightly more basic as well, it's a little bit easier for me to play. Games where you're using 4 directions plus fire keys, a little tricky for me to play with the caggy left hand. Some games I can play one-handed. If you can reconfigure the controls, I can play a lot more games, but some can be quite a bit little bit too complex. More basic like this, I'm a lot more comfortable with. But yeah, quite happy with that. And I'd like to say I do like a good arcade port, and that is a good arcade port, thankfully. It's one of the Acorn soft games that got bundled with it. Thank you for letting me know, Andy. See, I make these videos to try and educate some people out there, but this is an unusual one for me because I'm actually depending on you guys to tell me what's what because I've got no experience with the system. I've had a few a few little blasts with it since my ElkSD arrived. Never got to play it too much at the events, and usually it's locked off to one game because I don't like you messing too much, or I wasn't sure, what software was available or if anything would work. Something like this now, I've got time to sit at home and mess with properly. So I'm relying on you guys to tell me what the best games are out there. I'm aware of things like Repton and things like that. Got to be honest, not that big a fan of Repton. But I can see a few games being shouted out here. Starship Command, Boxer, and yeah, I noticed somebody said they've got five. They've now got five electrons. Was that you, Andy? A bit earlier on the chat. Yeah, that's kind of overkill for me, but yeah, I'll get it. Some people when they love a system, they like to own multiple versions of it. Chris Parsons, who helps us with Revival, of course, he always brings multiple Vectrexes. He absolutely loves them. Superior Software, yeah, they seem to create quite a few of the good games. Oh, was it you? Thanks, dude. Yeah, fair play to you. If you got five of these, absolutely brilliant. It's great for preservation. I love to own one of each of these, and I do try to own a good version. But I'm not the kind of guy who collects fully boxed consoles because I believe they should be kept for the more serious, the serious collectors and the hardcore fans. Me personally, I much prefer to have one that's nice and clean and fully functional. But I'm happy to have it loose because I keep them all boxed up, and protected anyway. If the system I'm not that familiar with or I don't care as much about, I'd rather have something and leave the collectible ones to the collectors and just have something functional that I can put out at events when I want to. Most of the time, anyway, around Duncan Woodward, who's been on here, Woody, he does a lot of the computer stuff for the events. So I know he's got a lot of stuff like this, but it's about time I started getting these. My console collection now has been, it's completely overtaken all my storage. But I need to start moving into the computers now, so I'm moving into them. But what I'm doing is I'm selecting computers that I can talk about on a video. That obviously I might not have had much experience with, but I've got these flash solutions readily available because at least then I can, I can jump in and I can have a good look at the games and that before I actually start putting them out at events where I know very little about them. I don't claim to know everything. Just because I organise events doesn't mean to say I know everything about these. What I do know, I've picked up, in things that I've read or seen over the years, or just from friends. You learn a lot of things when you go to events and you talk to like-minded people. And a lot of my knowledge about the BBC Micro has come in recent years because we've had a guy come into that who he does a lot of programming, does a lot of like homebrew coding for the Micro, and he's told me a lot of stuff about them. So I'm just trying to look down some of the games you're suggesting here, guys. Elite is, yeah, that's definitely one. Exile, that's one that looks quite interesting. And as it happens, we're on that page, so I think we'll jump onto that. This is a strange case, and I believe it was a practice that was done quite often back in the day on this system, which was to offset some of the actual game code is represented on screen as graphical data, if I'm not mistaken. Okay. Please type this word from the non-valid. Oh, that's great, isn't it? It's got rudimentary protection. So how the hell am I supposed to do that? I don't know. So yeah, we're not playing Exile, unfortunately. There's probably another version on here that's been hacked to bypass this. I don't know, but yeah, we're not going to be playing that. Okay, so we're not playing Exile. So right, we've got Camelot. Let's give Camelot a try because it's easy for me to navigate to. I'll jump to some of the later ones in a minute, guys. But let's have a look at Camelot. 'Cause that's only a couple of pages in. Yeah, Elite, of course, was a multi-platform release. I believe it's only in monochrome, isn't it, on here? I think it was in colour on some of the other systems, but it's only in monochrome on the Electron, from what I understand. What am I looking for? Camelot, that's what I'm looking for. Let's try that. That's the first one I've actually loaded up where I've seen it with um, the copy protection still in there. Most of these, like I say, I didn't create this list. This list is available straight from the people who did ElkSD64. You would have thought with the trainer and everything at the start, they would have gone through all that, but that was crazy. So W is Camelot. Let's fire that up and see if this will load up properly. Yeah, so what I was trying to explain there, guys, is yeah, some games, because there was limited memory to cram everything into, what they would do is they would actually, some of the actual game data would be represented on screen as like graphical data in kind of a border area, because it was easier to, it was the only way they could fit everything into the memory they needed for the game. So you get this kind of weird, kind of like pixely border all the way around in funky colours. It's crazy. Alright, so Camelot. Steve Davis Snooker. Interesting story about that one. So again, another game I'm not familiar with here, so you might need to coach me on this. Ah, right, okay. So we'll see what our keys are. So that's the other thing that bugs me about keyboards is, so Z and X is left. Let's try and work out what up is. Is that it, people always chose different controls, so you could never tell what was up and down. Right, so return to go up, and yeah, that to get it. So okay, so we've got a nicely animating kind of platformer here. I'm guessing I shouldn't actually be walking through the fire. I've got little devils chasing me. You obviously kill me. So yeah, return is jump and up. So I'm guessing I should be finding some keys and stuff to get through these doors. There's all manner of things. And can I actually kill anything? Yes, I have got a fire. So I should be able to shoot this dude when he comes back up. If he actually kills him. If he's not invincible. Yeah, killed him. And just have to keep looking at my keys here. Like I say, not familiar with the keyboard too well. Oh, there we go. Yeah, I quite like this. I could get into this. I do like this type of platformer from you know, the 8-bit micro era. More recently, of course, one of the games I touched on a lot was Montana Mike, which was this style of platformer for the Spectrum Next. I mean, yeah, I'm crap at it, and I'm walking into everything I know. But I'm just trying to kind of give people a rough overlook of these games. Yeah, it controls pretty well. I like this type of game because on systems where they haven't got very good hardware scrolling, obviously, you don't want games that are badly scrolling along, because I just find them really irritating. At least with a flip screen and this type of game, you've got time to pause between doing little platforming sections, you know, and I quite like that. Oh, you do take damage to jumping too far. So I can't get up there, so I'm guessing I have to go. I mean, this controls pretty well considering I'm doing it on a keyboard. You know, it's nice and responsive. Yeah, combination of Manic Mine and Jet Set Willie and Gauntlet. Yeah, it's a strange combination. Yeah, I do like this keyboard a lot. I mean, like I say, I'm not a big fan of playing on a keyboard, but this feels nice and comfortable to use. So, yeah, pretty happy about that. This was Camelot, Andy, sorry, not Citadel. Somebody mentioned Citadel there. Right, we'll give that a try then, if I can jump back to it. Okay. There we go. You have to hold, with the ElkSD and the loading this menu, you have to press shift and brake. You have to hold shift for a few extra seconds in order for actually to kind of automatically input the command. And we're looking for Citadel, right? Let's try Citadel then. Like I say, you guys are cluing me up here pretty well. I'll be making a note of a lot of these and referring back and touching on these in the future. Because whenever I look around, I look at a lot of videos when I do my own videos. I look to see what kind of games other people are playing, and they always talk about the same games, and they're either the type of games where you need to invest a lot more time into them to actually enjoy them, or you have to, you know, you've got to be pretty adept with your keyboard controls on your fingertips to be able to play them. Me, I like to think a bit more outside the box. None of these have been mentioned in other videos, so I'm glad you're showing them to me because they look pretty good. You got the manual. Right, so Prince of Persia is on Electron. It might have been, yeah, it might have been. So Citadel we're looking for. It should be on the next page. Let's give that a try. It is indeed there, L. I notice all these ones you guys are suggesting are superior software, so I'm assuming they were responsible for much of the good software for this system. Oh, you've got the novella there, have you? Oh, nice one. I might go back to it in a minute then, and then you guys can help me get into it. It looks like a pretty interesting game. Right, so pick which keys you want to use. Left, right. Why would you... Like, some of these key command choices are just absolutely alien. Like, why would you do some of these? I mean, it's going to have to be one. Are you male or female? Does it matter? I like the high resolution graphics and it does do them. So I press action. I thought that said Michael Jackson at the bottom then. I thought, what's he doing programming Electron games? Okay, so are we in, or is this a demo mode? Ah, there we go. Ah, okay, so I'm this little dude at the bottom, I assume. And so that's always the thing, when you're thrown in the deep end with a lot of these old games, you were never quite sure what the aim of the game was till you actually got into it. You didn't know whether you're collecting things, you didn't know whether you were just trying to get to a certain point. You're never quite sure what you can and can't touch. Obviously it seems I can't touch anything there without getting fried. Up we go. There we go. What's a snake? Asshole. Damn, everything kills me. Thank you. Oh, so he touches the ceiling. Better be careful then, aren't I? Oh, suck. Yeah, I can't make it over there. Let's have a look over here then. I'm sure you guys would obviously play these and instantly know exactly what you're doing. Well, that's good. That springboard doesn't actually do anything. Got a big dude chasing after me. No, I want to run away. Can I go down? Yeah, there we go. Run away. Yeah, so obviously I need something to open that up. Yeah, he looks a bit spooky. Don't like him. I'm assuming you're supposed to jump over him using that springboard. Yeah, games were definitely harder back then. I'm not adverse to a challenge, but a lot of the games I'm used to playing from this era, I am more familiar with, so I kind of know roughly what I'm doing from the start and where I'm going. This I don't, unfortunately. I got no clue. I'm not familiar with the mechanics. Not familiar with the. Oh man, it's kicking my ass. Yeah, I'm gonna die there. So that was Citadel. Yeah, got my ass kicked. Right then, so somebody said they had the manual for Exile. If you've got it there, let's try and load it up then. You still there, whoever's got the manual for Exile? Now, why is it loaded that straight back up? There we go. I'm going to try Exile again because I really want to try it. So if you are there and you've got the manual handy, help me get into it and we'll give Exile a try because I've never tried it. Brilliant, right? So this is what you call audience participation here. You guys help me play these games I can't otherwise play. Seems strange how they would have included that on here with the copy protection still on when they've already created like a loading screen and everything for it. But yeah, let's see if we can get into it and have a game anyway. I mean, there's a lot of games here I recognise. Commando, you know, arcade ports and stuff all day. I mean, I'll play them all day on any system, you know what I mean? But I'm trying to look at some of the ones that were, you know, exclusive to the system or what it was known for. So, Excel, there we go. Z. So, I mean, it might not ask us this time. It might have been a fault. Maybe they've anticipated you get around there. No, it's going to ask us. Run game. Might be able to type anything. Shall I try it? I'll try that first, actually. No, it's definitely there. So, 6th line from bottom, 5th word from left. In case you can't quite see that, which I know you can't. 6th line from bottom, 5th word from left. If you can let me know what that is, I'll type it in. Page 34. Just wait for you guys. Yeah, I just tried it, Dave. Unfortunately, I tried typing anything, it doesn't work. So, page 34, Andy. Page 34, 6th line from bottom, 5th word from the left. Tessara, thank you. Wrong. Okay. 6th line from bottom, 5th word from the left. From the left. Sorry, I'm spitting it out there. I tried that and it didn't work. Just Tessara. 6th line from the bottom, 5th word from the left. Oh, Andy's just said the same thing. Tessara. Wrong. It's saying wrong, guys. Tremor. Wrong. Blue. Are you just guessing now? Are you just winding me up? He doesn't like any of them. Oh, man. I don't know what's going on then, guys. I don't know what's going on, but none of those are working. Look, blue, definitely not working. Tessara, definitely not working. From the left, not the right. Yeah? 6th line from the bottom, 5th word from the left. So obviously fifth word in as you're reading in. Case, as in lower case. I don't think you can do lower case, can you? No, you can only write in capitals. Wrong again, running the demo version. This will hang up after a few minutes. But at least we can get into it, guys. So let's get into it anyway. So yeah, this is one I've seen talked about quite a lot. No idea what the controls are. So right, okay. P seems to be to float. I don't know what left and right is. Q and W. Okay. So yeah, this is quite an interesting game that I saw because you're this kind of space dude floating about, and the physics. I mean, they're pretty cool. You got to get used to like hovering, and even though this does scroll kind of jerkily, you can see what I'm talking about though with the border space on the outside. You can see that the data is being used and created like a graphical kind of effect all the way around the outside. So again, not quite sure what the point of the game is, but yeah, I mean this control's lovely. I mean, It's a bit like trying to control jetpack on the Spectrum. You've got to kind of master hovering. He does a little bounce. It's like moonwalking. I'm guessing you've got to find your way to a certain point without smashing your head onto the wall at high speed like I just did. Oh man. I think I'm floating off out into space, gents. Yeah. Well, I'm getting shot at now. So I'm guessing I don't want to be messing around with that thing. Oh, it's dropping bombs on my head. Man, that sucks. Thing is, you've got no display as to what your energy is, so I've got no idea if I'm actually dying or not. Caps lock to turn. Okay. Well, about turn, I'm definitely getting fried anyway. I mean, it said the game would quit in a few minutes because I haven't actually entered the proper passcode. Maybe they've just got around it in that it will be the full version, not the demo version. Don't know. T to teleport. Well, you've got some complex controls, haven't you? So we've got T for teleport. Caps lock to turn round. Oh, I see. Oh, that's kind of pointless because you can just walk backwards and forwards anyway. I mean, yeah. I mean, I need a lot more time to get to grips with it. Some of these games do warrant a lot more investigation than I'm giving them on here. But yeah, I mean, I'm liking that. I'm sure if we can spend some time there, I can really get into that. I think my W key is a little bit flaky there. It's not going right as effective as it should do. But yeah, I'm getting my ass kicked anyway. So that is Exile. And come on, please return. Thank you. Yeah, okay. Is Cybertron on the list? That's a good question. Let's take a look, shall we? Ah, right. Okay, one thing I will mention about the ElkSD, and it does actually say this in the instructions, the way the... I'll just zoom out there. The way the cartridge has been made, the Electron actually sits very flat on the table, and it says that sometimes, in order to make the best contact with the contacts, you may need to either put something underneath it so it's lifted up slightly, or put something on top so it's actually bending down slightly to make full contact. What actually happened there is, obviously I've been messing around with the keyboard there, I've probably knocked the device and it stopped reading it, so just have to plug that back in. How's it going, Mr. Butler? You alright? Let's plug this back in, see if it's recognised okay. Apparently not. Okay, 1 second. There we go, we're back again. We are back again. Just set that back there, it should be. In Forza 3 aspect, thank you very much. Yeah, everyone's doing well, thanks Simon. We're just having a bit of a mess around with the Elk here. A lot of the guys here know a lot more about the Electron than I do, so I'm letting them kind of take the lead on what games we play. And I think I've done it again. So yeah, sometimes I'm resetting it and it's appearing, and other times it's not. Yeah, it's slightly annoying. Let me see if I can put something underneath it, see if that helps. Yeah, the guy who actually makes it says this. Says you've got to make sure it's making full contact, and sometimes that means wedging something underneath it in order to ensure it's actually sitting at the correct angle. Yeah, that seems to have done the trick. I'm glad you are, Jason. But yeah, that's what the advice actually says in the manual that you get with it. It says it might not sit exactly right, and you might need to prop something under it to make sure it sits at the right angle. You might want to have one of the earlier Elks. I'm not sure. One you never got to develop Foresight. No, it's a system that kind of eluded me for many years. That's why I'm giving it a try now. And it's doing it again. Is it even going to reboot properly now? Right, 1 second, guys. Bear in mind this is a brand new device, guys. So I'm doing everything it tells me to do, and this Electron has had a covered rear expansion port, so it's not like the contacts are dirty or filthy or manky or anything. I have rudimentary cleaned it, so it should be okay. Nope. Yeah, it's not a matter of that, guys. It's just not making proper contact. Give me a second. Nope. Still not. I had to do a bit of fiddling with it before this. Yeah, see, Woody says there that his beeb occasionally does this power cycling. That's exactly what I'm doing, mate. That's exactly what I'm doing. It's just not recognising the cart all of a sudden. Let's try it a few more times. Give the port a bit of a wipe, see if that helps. I mean, there's no crud in there, you know. Should be okay. Come on, you bugger. There we go. Nope. Every time I touch the keyboard, it seems to stop recognising it. Well, that's a bit of a pain in the butt. I've got 99% isopropyl here, mate. I've actually cleaned it with that already. Whenever I get anything new, I always clean it with that. It's just suddenly not recognising it. It's recognising it first time, but then when I'm pressing the command to go into it, it's not having any of it. There we go. Bugger. Damn technical problems ruining my videos. There's always something, isn't there? Right, so where were we going? Cybertron. Yeah, that's where we're going to. So let's give that a try. When it loads up. Like I say, slightly slow navigation, I suppose. You can jump to it. I'll do that for some of the ones further down the list. If it's only A, B, or C, I'm just going to scroll to it. And if it's here, you watch it not be here now. I'm looking for it. It won't be here. Cybertron mission, is that it? I'm assuming. And we're loading. We are loading. Cybertron, Felix, Frenzy, Mine, Moonbase, Alpha, Moon Raider, Rubble Trouble, or Swag. Well, we only want the first one, thanks. Instructions. Return to menu. Yeah, so I pressed instructions. That was obviously a bad mistake. it? Oh, for God's sake. Thank you. Crazy Rider, codename Droid. Yeah, it says use F7 to jump through the pages. Let's see what else. So many suggestions you guys are coming out with. I'm just assuming I can play them when I get to them, you know what I mean? Codename Droid. Right, let's go with Crazy Rider. Sounds up my street. There we go. Superior software. Let's roll with that. Hopefully it's all working. There's always, it's not one of my videos unless there's some kind of technical problem. Crazy Rider Motorbike Racer. We've got a crazy title screen. Superb. Press space to play. Okay, you got it. Excellent. Okay, so that's accelerate. That's steer. Oh, that's nicely animated. I'm assuming it's an automatic gearbox. Now I'm moving at speed anyway. So this is more my type of game. Nice and simple. Not smashing into other motorbikes. I was actually quite good at hang on. Oh, the inertia throwing me right out there. Whoa. Crazy bastards. Games like this always remind me of there's one of those Tomitronic 3D games. There's a car racing game that where things just kind of spring at you out of nowhere like they do on this. It's kind of slow, 100 mile an hour. Can you actually fall off, or can you only smash into things? Whoa! Now I'm moving anyway. Yeah, I like this. Pretty good, man. Nice and fast. Yeah, man. I mean, I suck, but yeah, that is fast. That is cool. I like that. So I think Zeb suggested Frenzy, so let's see if we can jump to that. Come on, you bastard. Might not be able to go to anything here, guys. I'm just not getting a response. Ah, now it's gone off. There we go. This is so annoying. Yeah, I think I will need to clean some of this up. Anyway, I only wanted to give a bit of an overview to the Elk anyway. Just let people know what I think of it for my first time having a go at it. Dave, I'm doing it slow, I'm doing it fast, I'm doing the Fandango. It's just not working, mate. It's just not working. Might sound like I'm clicking fast, but I'm not. It's my table's a little bit rickety as well, wobbling about a bit. That could be something to do with it. But yeah, anyway, guys, that was my little introduction to the Acorn Electron. Anyway, just letting people know what I think about it. There's some cool games there. There's definitely some more. I want to invest some time into, and pretty soon I'll be doing a few more videos. I just had a bit of spare time on my hands tonight, and my ElkSD arrived the other day, so I thought I'd do a quick video. But yeah, I'll be back soon with some more Retro Gaming Room 101. I've got plenty more system overviews I've got coming up to do, where I'll know a lot more about what's going on. But anyway, stay subscribed to the channel, and I will catch you again real soon.